The Rolling Stones have been around for over 60 years now, and for almost half of that time, 4 of the members were set in. The situation altered completely when Bill Wyman, the bassist, made the decision to leave in the early 1990s. Rock and roll lovers all across the world were taken by surprise by his decision. Wyman has continued to be a former Stone, except for a few exceptional occasions, which shows that his original decision was not made on a whim. The replacement becomes the stronghold. The Rolling Stones did make some changes to their lineup during their peak recording years, which spanned from the 1960s to the 1980s. However, all of those adjustments were limited to one specific location, which may be referred to as the band's second guitarist. Brian Jones was the first person to hold that position, however, he was let go. Mick Taylor took his place, but he departed before Ronnie Wood, who still occupies that position today, assumed control. At the same time, the band recorded their first single in 1963, with Mick Jagger on vocals, Keith Richards on guitar, Charlie Watts on drums, and Bill Wyman on bass. Despite the fact that Richards and Jagger would periodically get into fights, which put their stability at risk, that quartet never wavered. Wyman, interestingly, was not actually one of the initial members of the organization. Wyman got the position at an audition in December 1962, and most people thought he would keep it for the rest of his life. The Rolling Stones released the album Steel Wheels in 1989, marking a sort of triumphant return for the band. It came after a time of hostility between Jagger and Richards that seemed like it could be too harmful to go over. When the album was released and it, along with its accompanying tour, demonstrated that the band was back to its best, it seemed like the band's core members would never stop performing. However, Wyman was beginning to have doubts. Even though he was a long-time member of the largest band in rock and roll, and many people would consider that to be one of the most desirable occupations in the music industry, he wanted to do more with his life than just go on tour and perform the same album over and over again. He told the group in 1991 that he was going to leave after performing on the single High Wire. The Rolling Stones were preparing to record their next album at the start of 1993. However, they were unable to persuade Wyman to change his mind, even after asking him multiple times. The band made an official announcement about his resignation after they finally came to the conclusion that they could not change his attitude. The band hired Daryl Jones, who had previously played with musicians like Miles Davis and Sting, to play bass on the album Voodoo Lounge. This was done in order to replace Wyman. Jones has contributed to all of the Stones' studio albums and tours since then, even though he has never been officially recognized as a member of the band. Wyman has come back to perform a few live gigs and also played on one song on the 2023 album Hackneyed Diamonds. However, he has generally stayed true to his original decision, which even his fellow band members assumed he would not stick to, and has remained, to use the title of his book, a Stone Alone.